If you didn't know, Legends of Runeterra tournaments are actually becoming a thing now. After almost a year, the game is out. Actually, it's a bit less than a year, but still. So, I'm going to be explaining the guide for Legend of Runeterra tournaments. I'm going to be explaining how they work. I'm going to be explaining the bans and everything like that. Hopefully, this video will help you if you ever start a tournament or if you're just interested in how they work. So, the first tournament is a $2,000, sorry, that's a lot of cash actually. Today I'll be giving you guys an inside look of the thought process and reasoning when creating a lineup and deck building for tournaments with the Conquest format, similar to upgrading Ascent of Targon Invitational, which is pretty nice. Like, you have Swim over here, that's one of the people I know. So 20 invited players, 12 open slots via open qualifier. This is really good. If you defeat Swim, that's crazy. So in the Conquest format, to win the match, you must win with your two decks that were not banned by your opponent. Once you win with one deck, you may not use it again in that match. If the deck loses, it may be repeated or swapped out with the other deck that was not banned. Since it's region locked, 3 decks must be brought out of the tournament. Each must have a different region and no region can be repeated. So you definitely need the right cards, right? For example, if I use Iona in one of my 3 decks and the other 2 decks can't use Ionia, which is crazy. So when creating a lineup, it becomes tricky as you can't overlap regions and bring both Deep and TF Swain as they both use Bulgewater. Yeah, definitely, this is definitely a good idea because blocks out, heavy characters. So, firstly you pick up the cards, which is like, you have so many here. These are like really expensive decks, which I'm not gonna go through. But then we have the ban. So in a new format, it's hard to get a great read of the metagame, but when there's more time and things are more settled, you can be certain when allocating percentage to each of those lineups, and that will help when building your lineup and changing or attacking your deck to meet the metagame. Keep in mind that sometimes it just be a good idea to play top tier decks that you're comfortable on. That happens to me a lot. Don't force yourself to play the most popular top decks with any prep time. This is like for preparing pros. So the ban, it's a important plan. Your ban while building a lineup. The upcoming invitational, most lineups will coming in a tournament banning the Swain TF deck. So the expectation, if you're planning on bringing the who Endure, this is the case, you may opt to ban Targo due to easy access to silence. This isn't just running one or multiple copies of Hush, but also because Invoke from Spacey Sketcher has around a 42% chance to discover a 1-cost silence that counters your win con in Endure for 7 mana. So keep in mind when building your 3-deck lineup in Conquest that it's not about bringing the strongest, but bringing the strongest 3rd deck. So let's use Israel as example. Say that your opponent, 2 decks are solid or good against aggro, and Israel Karma is your weak point against aggro lineups. If this is the case, you'll want to teach Israel Karma towards aggro, but still keep it strong against certain decks. For the most part, since the deck will allow you to win the game by turn 10 regardless, you have some room to tech. This is like a great control deck. You don't want to bring polar opposites decks by bringing a lineup with 1 deck that is really good versus aggro and 2 decks that aren't good against aggro. Doing so would allow your opponent to abuse their ban by banning decks that has good matchup in aggro, and you'll potentially just lose. So knowing the matchup is really important. So knowing your matches is very important when playing a tournament. This is why most competitive pro players will scream for a tournament instead of playing on ladder. Consider finding a practice partner to work on certain matchups, figure out the best way to improve versus expected matches, test your tech choices. It's just a lot of practice. Now, Mulligan is fucking crazy here. If you know Mulligan, you'll also know your opponent's Mulligan, but you need to know even more yourself, the mulligan for yourself, because when you know your mulligan, you have a huge advantage with the game, especially if you know what your opponent is playing. So the matchup is determined mostly who can get to the turn 10 the quickest and have Assault. If you don't have Assault turn 10 and your opponent does, it's game over. So hopefully this helps you out a lot. If you're ever going pro in Legends of Runeterra, this will help you out. Anyway, be sure to subscribe if you want more guys like this, and this is Lan from Central signing out.